Here are 5 chilling true stories that recount eerie experiences and unsettling encounters at Target stores. The familiar atmosphere of a retail giant suddenly shifts into something more sinister. Story 1. The Phantom Shopper Setting. A Target store in a quiet suburban neighborhood. In the summer of 2015, a Target employee named Sarah was working the closing shift. It had been a slow Wednesday night, and most customers had cleared out. Standing in front of the racks, seemingly sorting through the clothes. However, when Sarah called out, the woman vanished without a trace. As she began to tidy up the electronics section, they revealed that multiple employees had reported seeing the same woman over the years, always dressed in white, always humming. They claimed she was the spirit of a woman who had died in the store long ago, haunting it ever since. Later that evening, she had to check the stockroom. While retrieving a box, she felt a chill and heard the humming again, this time much closer. Panic set in as she hurried through the aisles, calling his name. "Where were you?" she asked. Tommy replied calmly, "I was playing with a girl. She was really nice." After what felt like an eternity of searching, she decided to go to customer service. They announced over the intercom. Linda glanced around, but there was no sign of any girls that fit the description. After leaving the store, Linda searched online and discovered several reports of missing children associated with Target. Each story detailed kids who claimed to have played with a similarly described girl and had later gone missing. One child was never found, urging anyone who saw Tommy to return him. The store was bustling, filled with families and children. Each time he glanced back, the man was closer, never breaking eye contact. But to his horror, the man was already in line behind him. Mark's heart raced as he paid and rushed out the door, constantly glancing back. Mark tried to lose him by taking different routes through the store, but the man always reappeared, lingering in the shadows. With only a few customers wandering the aisles, she stocked shelves and walked through the beauty section. She began to hear whispers. At first she thought it was just her imagination, but the voices grew clearer, echoing her name. Barely closing the door when the man shouted, the whispers persisted, sometimes sounding like her own voice. Emily quickly made her way to the front of the store, where she checked in with her manager. He brushed off her concerns, claiming the building was old and creaky, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if someone was mimicking her from further down the aisle. She described an elderly woman standing behind her, dressed in vintage clothing. But when they checked, the room was empty. When they reviewed the footage the next day, they gasped at what they saw, faint silhouette in the mirror when no one was present. The image showed the same elderly woman Megan had described. The familiarity of a store can quickly turn into an unsettling adventure filled with the unknown. She caught a glimpse of a figure out of the corner of her eye, someone standing at the end of the aisle staring at her. When she turned, the figure vanished instantly. He informed them of an elderly woman who had once visited the store regularly and had died in the dressing room area. Since then, employees and customers alike had reported seeing her ghostly image. The group decided against making the footage public, holding on to the unsettling experience instead. At the end of her shift, she found out a previous employee had gone missing in that very store the year before and was never found. She vowed never to work the overnight shift again. "You forgot your prize." He tossed a small, wrapped object onto the windshield and disappeared into the darkness of the parking lot. Linda kept a close eye on Tommy as he joyfully ran around, occasionally stopping to look at toys. Rushing out, she noticed that the clothing section was now entirely empty, unaware of the presence following him. However, one of the friends, Megan, stepped into a dressing room and suddenly screamed. The others rushed to her aid, finding her pale and shaken. As he made his way through the store, he felt a gaze on his back. They heard rumors about a Target store that had experienced various unexplained occurrences, particularly in its dressing rooms. Intrigued, they chose to visit the store at night, armed with flashlights and cameras. When he turned around, he spotted a man dressed in dark clothing, standing unusually still behind a display. She heard the faint sound of someone humming a tune. It was strange, as she thought everyone had left. Deciding to investigate, Sarah followed the sound toward the clothing section. She turned the corner. She saw a figure, a woman in a white dress, feeling unnerved. Sarah returned to her tasks but couldn't shake the memory of the apparition. When she shared her experience with her co-workers. Story 2. The Disappearing Child Setting. A crowded Target store on a weekend afternoon. Narration. In early 2018, a mother named Linda was shopping with her 4-year-old son, Tommy. Just as Linda was about to head down the cereal aisle, she noticed that Tommy was nowhere in sight. Minutes later, Tommy appeared, seemingly from nowhere, holding a toy. Linda rushed to him, relieved yet confused. When Linda asked for more details, he claimed the girl had long hair and wore a pretty dress. Story 3. The creepy stalker setting. A Target store late at night, just minutes from closing. Narration. In late 2020, a college student named Mark decided to buy some supplies at Target one evening. He walked the nearly empty aisles, assuming it was just a fellow shopper. Mark continued his shopping. But the feeling of being watched intensified. Feeling increasingly anxious, Mark decided to leave. He quickly walked to the checkout with his items. As he reached his car, he felt a prickling at his neck. Realizing the man had followed him outside, Mark jumped into the vehicle. Mark drove away, shaken, and later discovered that the object was a knife. He never returned to that Target again. Story 4. The voice in the aisles setting. A Target store opened for 24-hour shopping. Narration. In early 2021, a woman named Emily was working the overnight shift at a Target in her hometown. The store was eerily quiet. Unease washed over her as she picked up her phone to call for assistance, but the signal was weak. Steeling herself, she continued working. When she turned the corner, there was nobody there. Later that night, while checking the clothing section, Story 5, the haunted dressing room setting. A Target store with a notorious reputation for paranormal activity. Narration. In 2019, a group of friends decided to film a YouTube video exploring supposed haunted locations. As they entered the dressing room area, the atmosphere felt markedly heavier. They took turns trying on clothes while filming, making jokes to lighten the mood. "I saw someone in the mirror," she exclaimed, barely able to catch her breath. Determined to capture proof, they decided to set up cameras in the dressing rooms overnight. Spooked, they returned to the store to confront the manager, who confirmed the legend. These 5 true scary Target horror stories remind us that even the most mundane settings can hold chilling secrets and experiences that shake our understanding of reality.